This is Larry Jordan, the host of the Digital Production Buzz. The following interview is an excerpt from a recent program. To hear the entire program, visit digitalproductionbuzz.com. Last week, a police helicopter had to abort a stolen car chase in the San Francisco Bay Area town of Martinez. Why? They were on a collision course with a drone gone rogue, launched by a student who's now in the midst of a police FAA investigation. Tonight, we're joined by Joseph Tully, founder of the California criminal law firm Tully & Weiss and author of California State of Collusion. He's consistently named among the top 100 criminal trial lawyers in America and holds a certified criminal law specialist designation by the California Bar Association, an honor held by less than 0.1% of lawyers. Hello, Joseph. Welcome.
Good evening. How are you?
And joining us as well is Owen Ouyang, the Chinese exchange student who was flying the drone at the time. Hello, Owen. Welcome.
Hello. Good evening. How are you?
Glad to have you both with us. Owen, I want to start with you and start with something simple. How long have you been flying drones?
I've been flying drones since I was a little kid, so I was flying the remote control helicopter since I was like 8 or 9 years old.
And tell us what model you were flying and what you were filming when this drone runaway occurred.
So the model that I was flying was an DJI Phantom 3 advanced model, and I have to clarify that I was not trying to get any pictures or videos during the time. I was just trying to fly the drones.
So explain the situation. What happened when you? How did you manage? Start at the beginning. What happened?
It was 8:30 or 9 in the evening, and I was trying to take out my drone to have a test flight. So I took it off from the front yard of my house. Then I started to fly the drone towards the east directions, and then I realized that there is a power line in the direction that I was trying to fly the drone. So I took the drone to the south direction. Then I believe there is some interference between the power line and my drone signal, and then I lost the signal of the drone, and it activated its default function, which is called a return to home function, and raises altitude to a preset altitude and start to fly back. And I believe that is where the near collision happened.
And the incident, as I understand it, was the drone was about 750 feet in the air, give or take a little bit, and started to interfere with a police helicopter, which was in pursuit of a stolen car. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yes, this is what I heard from the news as well.
So how did the police connect you with the drone?
So after the return to home function activated by the drone itself, the drone started to fly back from where it loses connections with me. I heard about a helicopter flying over my head after the drone got close to me. However, I did not know that was a CHP helicopter until the police officer started to talk to me about it.
Well, that's got to be a scary moment. Joseph, what's the current law on flying drones? And was Owen obeying the law as you understand it?
Actually, he was. The scary thing about this situation is that this isn't a situation where you have somebody who's uninformed or being negligent or being reckless. Owen is a student pilot. He's flown 6 or 7 different types of aircraft, including a helicopter. Before he flew the drone, he had looked up the FAA guidelines and was doing his best to be safe and fly within those guidelines. To answer your question about the current law on drones is there's no real law about drones. So this situation is very analogous to automobiles. When automobiles first came out, there was no laws about vehicular manslaughter or anything like that. And as a society, we had to develop a body of law around this new technology. And that's where we're at now. So there could be maybe a battery. You know, if I punch you, that's a battery. If I throw a baseball at you, that's a battery. If I flew a drone at you, that would be a battery. Or assault with a deadly weapon, something like that. We could use those laws to apply them to this situation. However, we fully cooperated with the police and with the U.S. Department of Transportation. They determined that because this was in return to home function, there's no criminal intent or criminal negligence on Owen's part, and therefore there's no criminal liability. As I understand it, he's been cleared of any criminal charges at this point.
Now, the one thing that puzzles me is that there's a 500-foot limit to altitude with a drone, and the drone went up to 750 feet. Was this a problem with the manufacturer?
It's actually, it's a default setting in the drone, so it can be increased. And in this instance, Owen was in a situation where he's on a hill, there's other houses on that hill, there's other buildings in the area, and there's power lines. So he actually, being safety-minded, he increased the default so that if it ever did go into the return-to-home function, that it would fly up to a safe height and then return home so it wouldn't hit a building or a power line and fall down on somebody and hurt them. And Owen knows, being a pilot, that most pilots fly above 1,000 feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, one of the things I want to point out is that Owen has been very proactive in stating what the problem is, stating what he did, stating how this has come out, and is serving as a role model spokesman to say, hey, pay attention to this, so that there's been no attempt ever to hide the fact this occurred. So, Owen, thank you very much for joining us and explaining this today. I want to make that really clear. But, Joseph, is Owen still responsible for flying the drone, even though the drone has gotten out of his control?
You know, that's a really difficult question, and the answer is probably maybe. Again, this is a new field in law, so it was in autopilot mode. He lost connection with the drone through no fault of anything that he did. I mean, is it somebody? Would it be your fault if your cell phone lost connection with somebody while you were guiding them someplace and they got lost? You know, in this case, the drone lost connection and through no fault of Owen's, and because it lost connection, it went into this return to home safety function.
Based upon this, and especially because he interfered with a police helicopter, what charges, if any, is Owen facing, or what penalties, if any?
Right now, again, he's been cleared of any criminal liability. So there's no federal charges, there's no state criminal charges. There's an issue, there's guidelines that you're not supposed to fly within 5 miles of an airport, and there's an airport nearby within 5 miles of where this was. So there may be a penalty with that, but my understanding is that there's no clear fines or penalties. Again, there's no real law, body of law around drones right now.
My understanding is that there's new drone legislation pending.
Yes.
Joseph, can you describe what that is?
Well, I've had a chance to review it very briefly, and it seems to be focused on just registration. So any drones between half a pound up to 55 pounds have to be registered with the FAA. And if you don't register, you face very stiff civil penalties of up to $27,500 and perhaps some criminal liability as well. But the regulations seem to be dealing with registration itself and not how to fly the drone or flying irresponsibly.
We have a live chat going on right now, and Owen, you've answered this question earlier, but Eric is asking, why were you flying the drone if you weren't filming at the time?
Okay, so I was just trying to test the flight, the drone. So, I mean, people who get a drone, they do not fly it only when they want to film. I was just trying to fly it around. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
Basically practicing.
Yes, exactly.
And actually, he has a passion for flying. He's a student pilot. He's close to getting his license. He flies any kind of aircraft he can fly. He's going to school to become an airline mechanic. So he loves flying.
Yeah.
Joseph, should drone manufacturers provide a different kind of programming for their drones to help solve this problem? Is this a manufacturing issue? Is this a regulation issue, an airspace issue? Where do you think the boundaries lie?
I think there is a technological fix. I think the emergent technology of vehicle-to-vehicle communication, the Internet of Things, where different objects can talk to each other, I think that should be implemented into drones as a fix to this. Also, my car, when I'm in cruise control, if somebody pulls in front of me, my car will slow down and adjust with the laser-assisted cruise control with the radar installed in it. And I think the drones having installed radar or vehicle-to-vehicle communication, I think would have avoided this incident.
Again, Joseph, if you were to give guidance to other drone operators who want to fly their drones responsibly and avoid the kind of problem that Owen's going through right now, what advice would you give them?
First and foremost, I would say that a drone is not a toy. So everybody who gets a drone under the tree at Christmas, don't wake up and just start flying it right away. Be very, very responsible with it. Again, Owen's situation is somebody who's intelligent, who's knowledgeable, and was trying to do the right thing, and yet still ended up in a bad situation, which could have been really bad. So I would say treat it extremely safe. Go to a waterfront, go to a place where people fly kites, where you can have visual sight with the drone at all times, stay away from crowds of people and objects. So a nice open flat area where there's not a lot of people would be the place to fly a drone.
Another legal question for you, Joseph. What's the liability rulings on drones? If damage is caused, who's liable?
I think we would have to go back to cars or aircraft and use existing law and start applying it by analogy to drones. So if I fly a drone through the window of your house and I purposely do that or I negligently do that, then I would be responsible for it. If I'm flying a drone responsibly and you are, I don't know why somebody would do this, but you're piloting erratically, maybe an airplane or something like that, then and you hit the drone just because you're driving or flying erratically, that would be your fault. And then I think there's probably going to be a big body of law relating to manufacturer's liability. For instance, had something happened here, as you pointed out, there's not a clear liability situation. The drone was in autopilot mode. It had been programmed to be safe, and yet there's no vehicle-to-vehicle communication, and there's no radar installed in the drone where it could have avoided hitting an object, a building, a tree, or another flying vehicle.
Owen, I can just imagine the stress you're under, and I very much appreciate your coming on the show and explaining the situation. So I hope this gets resolved successfully from your point of view.
Thank you very much.
And Joseph, for people that want to learn more about your law practice, which is amazing, what website can they go to?
Okay, they could go to tully-weiss.com, and that's Tully, T as in Thomas, U-L-L-Y, then -Weiss, W-E-I-S-S.com.
And Joseph Tully himself is speaking. Joseph and Owen, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
If you'd like to see more videos like this one, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. To stay connected and receive updates from The Buzz, sign up for our free weekly newsletter now. Or you can learn more about us on our website. And thanks for watching The Digital Production Buzz.